Coming up tonight on KREM-TV News at 6, new information on breaking news from North Idaho. Pastor who led a prayer at Ted Cruz's political rally yesterday shot multiple times while he was walking to his car outside his church this afternoon. He survived, and there is building support for him from members of his congregation who are at the hospital right now, waiting for any update on how he's doing. Enough forces yank up this concrete. That was no match for it. Then here we are with the roots, and now you'll start to be able to get an idea of just how big we're talking about with these trees, these pine trees. So this is number one, and I'm going to duck under here real quick, and then you'll see number two as well. So they kind of fell in parallel right smack dab on top of the building, and I'm told that that's the principal's office in there. KREM-2 Morning News on CW22, 8 o'clock midweek. Was that Adam? Adam, is that your right hand that I just saw?
He's very enthusiastic.
From Gonzaga University.
Single.
I don't know if Adam
he likes me to throw that in there. Yes,
I don't know if he wanted you to broadcast that to
he said it was fine.
Everywhere between Montana to Central Washington down to Oregon up to Edmonton, where we're on as well.
We have
I don't think Adam wanted that.
Hashtag date Adam. There you go. All right, we'll get to more on that and everything behind the scenes in a minute. But first, it is 8:01. I'm Laura Papetti, along with
How have your matchmaking skills gone to this date so far?
How are they?
If you gave yourself a rating, would it be a C? And he's talking about places like this. This is where what's fallen as snow, didn't get a lot of it this year. Rain, hail, everything in between runs downhill, and this will eventually make its way to the aquifer. Jen, I just have one question for you, and that is, how did you get a hold of my demo tape from a few years ago? I sent that thing out on VHS. And we are updating breaking news from Coeur d'Alene. Growing support here in the 6 o'clock hour for Pastor Tim Remington. Just saw him there leading the prayer at the Ted Cruz rally yesterday. Shot in his church parking lot this afternoon, but survived with the shooter still at large. Right now at the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour. This is KREM-2 News at 6. I'm Sten Walstrom. This happened just before 2 this afternoon at the Altar Church on 9th and Best in Coeur d'Alene. Pastor Remington shot multiple times in the back as he walked to his car this afternoon, but was able to talk to the EMS crew on scene before he was taken to Kootenai Medical Center, where he is right now. We got this picture in from inside the hospital this evening, showing a growing crowd there for support and for any updates. KREM-2's Ryan Sims is at a second location in Coeur d'Alene where people are gathering to show their support and to just talk about what happened.
Is praying for Pastor Remington's speedy recovery. Sten?
Ryan, and obviously we don't want to report on any sort of speculation, but I'm curious, the folks that you talked to this afternoon into this evening, do they have any ideas on who might have done this? Was anybody acting strange, or did this kind of just come out of the blue for them?
By all accounts, really, it seems like it was a complete and total shock.
Ryan, thanks very much for your reporting this afternoon and into the evening. This is from Pastor Remington's bio on the Altar Church website. States he's from California, moved to Coeur d'Alene in 1968, that he and his wife Cindy were interested in reaching out to people typically ignored through street ministry, and they started Altar Church in the Silver Valley more than 18 years ago before moving into Coeur d'Alene and have 4 children. So with the shooter still at large, with the connection to the Ted Cruz rally yesterday, a lot to continue following. We will have new information as it becomes available here on KREM.com, KREM Mobile, and our various social platforms as well. Let's get a check on what to expect for our Sunday evening now and into Monday with meteorologist Michelle Boss.
In the upper 40s.
Michelle, thank you. Former First Lady Nancy Reagan died today at her home in Los Angeles. Spokesman for the family says they think it was heart failure. In addition to her duties as First Lady, Reagan was known for her advocacy. She created the famous Just Say No campaign against drugs, advocated for Alzheimer's research, including lifting restrictions on stem cell research, and she worked for better treatment for our veterans. Friends have called her relationship with the 40th president the greatest love affair in the history of the American presidency. And when Ronald Reagan died in 2004, they say she never stopped grieving. Chris Martinez has more on her life. I can't drive a semi. Guessing this dog can't either. The trouble he got into and how he's doing tonight. Plus, police come to the rescue every day, but one girl needed some emergency help that wasn't necessarily an emergency.
A little rain, a little sun today. What can we expect for the upcoming work week? I'll have your forecast coming up.
Certainly something you don't see every day. A dog taking a bit of a joyride in a semi. So customers at a gas station in Minnesota looked over, saw that yellow lab behind the wheel of a semi across the road. Dog hopped into the truck while it was in neutral, somehow threw it into gear, then went through a parking lot, crossed the street, jumped a curb, and hit a tree, as we see there on the left. Police say the driver left the unoccupied rig running in a nearby parking lot. Nobody hurt, and the yellow lab is just fine. All right, let's get back to that breaking news situation in Portland. This is a live look over Portland's Willamette River, and we can hear some of the reporters providing coverage there in Portland. A controversial Shell oil ship, this is an icebreaker, in Portland is trying to leave the port, and you see the protesters have lowered themselves from the St. John's Bridge over the Willamette River, trying to get in the way.
There's 26 of them, I believe, is what's being reported out of KGW.
I know that the Coast Guard told the kayakers in the water that they were trespassing and had to leave the area. So that's one part of the situation. What I don't know is what's going to happen to those folks on the bridge, if they will somehow be forced to try to move. But how do you deal with someone who's dangling from a rope, intentionally trying to get in the way of this icebreaker? A couple of the kayakers now off to the side of that area in Portland, and that ship obviously can control its progress down the river or stall itself until this thing plays out, and I think that's what we're seeing. It was moving earlier. We have seen it kind of in the same spot in the last 5 or 10 minutes as we've been watching this from Portland. So we've got our company station over there. Let's listen in a bit to what this reporter is saying locally.
But for now, it appears that the Fennica has stopped moving, and they're kind of in this standoff mode at this point.
And the discomfort that Shell would cause the world by continuing to this path that they're on.
Were you able to get Portland station KGW in a very unusual live interview, talking with a woman who is hanging from the bridge there, stopping the progress of that Shell oil ship from going to the Arctic in a drilling operation. So we've got a standoff there in Portland, and as we heard from their coverage, not even sure what kind of local agency might get in to try to remove those protesters hanging from the bridge. That is something we will continue to follow as we continue on KREM-2 Morning News on CW22. That they're still in some meetings and getting some information about the extent of these fires here in the Omak area. So this noon press conference where they're going to talk about that is delayed for a bit as they continue to work on that information here. In the meantime, earlier today, a lot of these folks in the Omak area north of town where these fires are burning, if they wanted to protect their property, it was up to them. There are many critical moments like this one north of Omak in Okanagan County today. Michael Whitley's working to stop a fire from jumping a road with his property on the other side of it. He's been up all night to try to keep that from happening.
With these south winds, it's going to burn straight to Omak, so keep it contained.
As people do here, he got some extra help. Dina Snell drove by, put her pickup truck in park, and used her hands to help throw dirt on the fire.
Devastating. Extremely devastating. People are exhausted, and they're not giving up.
In some areas, there was nothing standing in the way of the fast-moving fire. It burned through several trailer homes in this area northwest of town, and while property is lost, many chose to heed evacuation orders and get out of there with their safety intact. You've been on some fires before and haven't really seen much like this, huh?
Never seen any fires like this. There's more of them, and the whole northern part of this state is covered with fires.
And now it's creeping down toward you.
It is there, you might say. It's already there.
Well, this is what he's talking about. This is Omak, and then we see this huge fire here, and then another one also north of town. As we said, that noon press conference to tell us how much property has been lost, other information from this fire, anything with injuries like that. Still working on that information here at the Fire Command Center, and we expect this press conference, this media conference, to get underway a little bit later here during the noon hour. Laura, we'll send it back to you.